The orchestra's soft melody flowed through the air, a classical waltz that no one really listened to, drowned out by the clinking of champagne glasses and the hum of shallow conversations. The U.S.A. gala was a celebration of wealth, power, and a night, where egos paraded in custom suits and designer gowns, where deals were hinted at over dessert and secrets traded behind velvet curtains. Alina Voss moved through the room like a queen surveying her court. Every step she took was deliberate, heels tapping with a rhythm that made people turn their heads. Whispers followed her like shadows. She wasn't just the CEO of one of the world's most innovative motor corporations. She was a symbol of cold ambition. Since inheriting the company after her father's sudden death, she had taken it to international heights. She had no time for relationships, no tolerance for mediocrity, and certainly no patience for anyone who didn't speak in millions or innovation. So when she caught sight of Liam Hart standing stiffly near the refreshment table, a man who looked like he'd wandered in by accident, her curiosity was piqued not warmly, but like a cat toying with a bird. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing an outdated navy suit that had clearly seen more church weddings than boardrooms. His hair was slightly tousled, his hands still bearing faint traces of engine grease, no matter how hard he had tried to scrub them off. He wasn't holding a drink. He wasn't networking. His eyes scanned the room not with envy or longing but with quiet observation, as if none of it impressed him, and that unsettled Alina more than she cared to admit. "Who is that?" she asked one of the board members lounging nearby. "Oh, that's Henry Hart's boy. Liam, I think. Mechanic, single dad, small-town garage. We invited him out of respect for his father. Old Henry was loyal till the end, worked on the vet project before he passed." Alina's lips curved upward in amusement. "How poetic," she murmured. She finished her champagne and took another from a passing tray before crossing the room toward him, her presence cutting through conversations like a hot blade through ice. Liam noticed her approach, but didn't shrink. He straightened slightly, met her eyes, and nodded respectfully. "Alina Voss," she said, as if he didn't already know. "Liam Hart," he replied. "I hear you're a mechanic. That right?" she asked, swirling her drink lazily. "I am," he said simply. "And what do you think of this crowd?" she asked, scanning the ballroom dramatically. "A bit out of your orbit, isn't it?" "It's not the orbit that matters. It's the gravity," Liam answered, not missing a beat. She raised an eyebrow, intrigued, clever, unexpected. "Tell me, Liam," she said, her voice turning playful and loud enough for nearby guests to tune in. "Do you know anything about concept cars?" "A thing or two," he replied. "My father left behind a prototype no one has been able to revive. Top minds have tried. All failed," she said, eyes gleaming with a dare. "So I'll make you a deal." She stepped closer, her tone dripping with mockery. "Fix the vetted engine. Get it running. If you do, I'll marry you." The room hushed, then burst into laughter. It was the kind of challenge no one expected to be taken seriously. People clapped sarcastically. Some raised their glasses. A few shook their heads, murmuring about Elena's twisted sense of humor. But Liam wasn't laughing. He looked straight into her eyes. "Deal," he said, with the steady tone of someone who wasn't bluffing. Elena's smirk flickered for half a second. The laughter died, just slightly, enough for the silence between them to feel sharp. She searched his face for a trace of embarrassment or uncertainty, but there was none, just resolve, and something else she couldn't name. For the first time in a very long while, Alina Voss felt unsure, and Liam turned away first, not rudely, but deliberately, walking calmly toward the exit, leaving only the echo of his footsteps and the weight of his words behind. Inside the forgotten depths of a massive U.S.A. warehouse on the outskirts of the city, dust hung in the air like a silent guardian of time. Sunlight filtered through shattered windows and thin beams, illuminating patches of the concrete floor littered with old blueprints, rusted tools, and long-forgotten automotive dreams. And in the center of it all stood the legendary but lifeless V18, the sleek, futuristic concept car that had once been the heart and soul of Elena Voss's father's vision. It looked like a machine frozen in time. Its curves still gleamed beneath the layers of grime, its engine bay gaping like an open wound. The body was flawless, but the heart was dead. No manuals, no schematics, no support. Just a sealed file left by the late Gregory Voss, labeled, "Do not open unless you believe in miracles." And one man willing to try. Liam Hart stood alone in the silence, a battered toolbox at his feet. He wore his grease-stained shirt, sleeves rolled up, exposing arms that had spent a lifetime lifting engines and turning wrenches. Beside him sat a small foldable chair and a lunchbox Maez, decorated with stickers and notes like "I love you, Daddy," written in crayon. She sat quietly in the corner with a sketchpad on her lap, drawing pictures of cars and superheroes while humming to herself, occasionally sneaking glances at her father with wide, proud eyes. For Liam, this wasn't just about fixing a machine. It was about proving to himself and to the world that value wasn't measured in boardroom accolades or corporate titles. It was about honoring his late father, who once told him that some engines aren't just built with metal, but with purpose. The work began in silence. He studied every inch of the car. The engine was a hybrid of old combustion technology and experimental electric design, decades ahead of its time, yet abandoned in the prototype phase. The system was wired like a puzzle no one had solved, its programming fragmented and encrypted. The battery core had been disconnected. Parts were missing. And the more he dug in, the more he realized why everyone else had given up. But Liam didn't walk away. He came back day after day, every evening, after closing his modest garage. He packed up his tools and brought Maya with him. She'd sit nearby doing homework, talking to him between math problems, bringing light to the cold industrial space. Sometimes she'd fall asleep curled up in the back seat of the V-Titan, while Liam worked by lamplight until the early hours of the morning. His hands grew more calloused. His knuckles bled. His back ached. But he didn't stop. He scavenged rare parts, reached out to underground collectors, and even taught himself the basics of electrical coding. He rewired the electrical grid by hand, recalibrated the core processor, and fabricated components no longer in production using scrap and creativity. As days turned into weeks. Warehouse workers began to notice the man who never left. Some watched from a distance. Others offered him coffee, or just shook their heads in disbelief. To them, he was wasting time. But Alina noticed, too. One afternoon, on her way to inspect a new vehicle prototype, she walked past the warehouse and paused at the open door. Inside, she saw him drenched in sweat, bent over the engine bay, murmuring calculations to himself. Maya sat nearby coloring, a tiny speaker playing Beethoven softly in the background. Alina didn't enter. She watched from the shadows, her sharp eyes narrowing, trying to understand why this man, this mechanic, with nothing to prove, was giving everything to something that had already beaten dozens of her best engineers. She thought of her father, of how he used to stand in this same warehouse, sketching with chalk on concrete, dreaming up impossible things. The V18 had been his masterpiece, his obsession, and no one had been able to bring it to life since he died. But now, this quiet, ordinary man was doing what no one else had dared. He wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't looking for fame or validation. He was just trying. And something about that made Alina feel unexpectedly small in the empire she ruled. Back inside, Liam tightened the last bolt on the core battery mount. He didn't smile. He didn't rush. He just looked down at the engine like it was something sacred, like it had a soul. Then he gently closed the hood and wiped the grease from his hands. Asterisk Maya looked up. Is it ready? Asterisk not yet, he said, but it's close. I can feel it. The Viditan remained silent, but something had shifted in the air. It was no longer just a machine. It was a promise waiting to be fulfilled.